Hi, it's I from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got a book to read for you. Today's book is Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Patch from 1980. So let's get started. It was a fine spring morning when Owl and Pooh decided to take a walk. Owl ruffled his feather in the warm air. The atmosphere condition, he began. Indeed, Pooh said. Owl went on, and winds mean that it is now time for Honey, Pooh interrupted. Honey, said Owl impatiently. Pooh, you are a bear of little brains, too much tummy. I was talking about spring. Spring is the time of the year when everything starts growing. I would say it's also a good time for someone to eat honey, Pooh replied, especially me. I will continue, speaking more loudly. Spring is the time for a rabbit to plant carrot seeds and for Piglet to plant small cabbage plants. Then they can eat carrots and cabbage all year long. All year long, Pooh repeated. He had a lovely thought. Owl, do you suppose that if I plant one of my honey pots, it will grow honey? That sounds like a practical idea, Owl said. But then again, maybe it isn't. You see, Pooh. But Pooh wasn't listening. He was too busy thinking about a whole year's supply of honey in his very own honey patch. That afternoon, Rabbit strode past Pooh's house and heard him inside, pondering, this big one, that small one. I shouldn't waste the big one, but a small one wouldn't grow much honey. Maybe I'll plant a middle-sized one. What are you planting? Rabbit asked. Owl had given me a practical idea, Pooh explained. I should plant honey from a honey pot. That is a practical idea, Rabbit replied. I'll help you with it. So the two friends planted one middle-sized pot deep in the ground. Before long, Rabbit carrot poked through the ground, and Piglet cabbage plants looked bigger. Pooh honey pot, however, wasn't growing anything at all. Poor Pooh, I can't understand what's wrong, Rabbit told Piglet in Eeyore. Maybe we should talk to Owl. He knows that science fiction about growing. But when they asked Owl what was wrong, he ruffled his feather and looked cross. It wasn't my idea to grow honey from a pot. It was Pooh's idea, he explained. Actually, I wondered from the start if it was a practical idea. Poor Pooh, sighed Rabbit. Maybe we can make it work, Piglet squeaked in a very excited voice. When Pooh is sleeping, we can dig up the honey pots. Perhaps if you look at it, Owl, you'll see what is wrong. I don't think, Owl began, but they all looked at him so hopefully that he stopped right there. That's right. That night they creeped carefully to the edge of Pooh honey patch. Rabbit whispered, I think a very small animal should dig up a honey pot. Me, Piglet squeaked softly. Unless you are afraid, Rabbit replied. Piglet marched bravely into the patch and began to dig. The deeper he went, the more holes seemed like a place where a very large animal might come to rest in the dark. Thump! He struck something hard. He pulled and tugged. Suddenly the honey pot came free, and Piglet tumbled over backward. Help! Cried Piglet, thinking a whole herd of very large animals was on top of him. Look, the pot is broken, Eeyore said. Now we'll never know what went wrong. Somehow Owl felt better. We must find another pot, Rabbit said firmly. I don't have a pot, but I do have a bucket, I conspired, said Piglet. He hurried home with all the other for company, and they carried that bucket back to Pooh Honey Patch. I think, said Owl, that's what this honey pot needs, is sun and air, and occasionally rain. These are important things. These are important for growing. We'll fill up the hole, and we'll put the bucket here on top, and you'll see. We'll see what happens. That was what they did, and that was why there was a bucket in the honey patch. When Pooh hurried out the next morning, he wanted to see if anything exciting might had happened during the night. He stared at the bucket and think, he said to himself. My honey pot didn't grow honey, but it did grow a bucket, a very fine bucket too. And the bucket is more useful when it is filled with something sweet. Off he stumbled into the woods to find something sweet to put in his bucket. He made up this hum to keep him company. If a bear in the summer, crankety clink, has a garden to sow, clinkety clink, it must better to sing, clinkety clink, than to wait for his honey to grow. He wishes Piglet was with him to sing this clinkety clink. Piglet would like that. While Pooh was off collecting honey, Rabbit, Piglet, Eeyore, and Owl stopped by to see if the bucket had grew anything. It's gone, Rabbit exclaimed. First no honey, then no honey pot. Now no bucket. I knew it, said Eeyore grimly. I could have guessed that this would happen. They were about to ask Owl what to do next when Pooh came out of the woods. Hooray, shouted Pooh, hurrying toward his friend, company for breakfast. Pooh, Rabbit shouted back. You had filled our bucket with honey? How wonderful. Your bucket? Pooh asked. Well, you are welcome to share, of course. But I didn't find this bucket. But I did find this bucket growing here in my honey patch, and the handle makes it very useful for honey filling, honey finding time. The other smiled while Piglet explained excitedly how the bucket happened to grow in the honey patch. And then all the friends sat down together for a breakfast of honey. It's delicious, Piglet said. But honey is certainly easier to find than it is to grow. Wouldn't you say, Pooh? Indeed, said Pooh. I hope you have learnt that growing honey in the garden is not a practical idea after all, said Owl, still with my knowledge of the atmosphere and the winds. Indeed, said Pooh again. Our spring planting had yeast, had yielded quite a fine crop, I will conclude proudly. Indeed, Pooh said once more, and he licked the last of the honey off his paw. So that was Winnie the Pooh in the Honey Patch from 1980. So please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.